Alright everybody, welcome back to Rotors here. Thanks for joining us here. We are back with the SQ5, and today we're doing a little bit of maintenance. We're taking care of the brakes today. So what I wanted to do is do a quick DIY on how to take care of pads and rotors on the front and rear of these cars. So stay tuned. Hopefully you learned something. Let's get into it. Now, in an effort to save some money, I went through partsgeek.com to pick up my rotors and pads. Now, if you wanted to go the OEM route, source the genuine Audi brake rotors and pads that they use through FCP Euro, I think they're like 16 or 1700 bucks. And then for like the Zimmerman OEM equivalents from FCP Euro, those are a little bit over $1,000 for the set. And so for these ceramic pads from ATE, front and rear, and then I tried to get WAGNER rotors front and rear just so I can have matching brands. Unfortunately, the WAGNER fronts were sold out, so I've got their rear rotors here, and then I got the front rotors from FREMAX. And this total ran me just under 600 bucks after tax, shipped to my door, so saved quite a bit of money there by picking these up. And these parts all had pretty good reviews, and I'm not tracking this car, so I don't need anything crazy high performance, just something that's an OE equivalent. And I didn't do slotted or drilled, just the original flat finish, and of course these are vented. So let's go over what tools we're going to use to get these on the car, and then just get into the process of doing it. Hey everybody, my dumbass is back with another voiceover because my GoPro sucks. Let's take a look at the tools we got. We got a 3/8 extension with various socket sizes like a 21, 19, 18, 17, and of course the ratchet to go with it, and an impact if we need more power. Then we got a couple wrenches here. These are used for the rear caliper, and then we've also got a pick for the center caps and the wheels. You got to get something small in there so you can pry those things off and not damage them. And then we've also got a couple Torx keys. One of these is for the anti-rattle clip on the caliper, and the other one is for the alignment bolt for the rotor. Now, we've also got a pickle fork here, sometimes called a ball joint separator. This is used to pry back the pistons inside the calipers, give you some nice leverage to push those things back in their home. And then we've also got a breaker bar with the correct size lug socket so we don't damage the wheels and we get them nice and tight. So yeah, like I was saying, GoPro fucking sucks, and I think I'm going to switch to Insta360 for my small action camera footage from here on out. Last but not least, before I forget, get you some of these wheel hangers. This makes it a lot easier to put the big 21s on and off, allows you to slide the wheel in place and align the lug bolt holes so you're not struggling. As much as we would all love to have lug nuts and wheel studs, the Germans still haven't caught up with the rest of the world. Additionally, get you one of these Jim Adler's, the Texas hammer here, so you can beat the shit out of the brake rotors and let them come off. Make sure you got something to pull off these center caps with. Alright, we got these things that are very dirty, super grimy. It's been a while since I've had these things off of here. Look at that. Wow. We'll give this a nice deep clean here in a little bit. Okay, so like most Audis, to get off the caliper, there's going to be two big bolts in the back. And we'll want to get something to hang these calipers with since they're so big. We don't want all the weight dragging down on just this hose here. So we're going to find a clever way to mount it up, maybe with some wire or a clothes hanger, something to hook around the control arm and let the weight hang on this and not on the hose down here. Okay, so back behind the caliper here, we've got two 21mm bolts on the inside mounting point of this caliper. So I'm gonna have to get a small breaker bar here with a 21 on it, and I might have to get a hammer or a wrench to give me a little bit more leverage and break those loose because they're probably pretty tight. That didn't work. Okay. Ran out of battery on the camera, but we got a new battery, new can of beer, and we broke the first bolt loose. Yeah, just be smart. Don't be me. Get in the car and turn the steering wheel to the opposite side of what you're working on, and you'll have easy access to these things with your impacts. So now I can just zip these things off. We're gonna let this soak and come back to it. Got that rotor off. Let's go ahead and clean up some of this rust here. A little bit of corrosion. So what I'm gonna do now is get a pry tool in here of some sort. I'm using this ball joint separator tool, and we're gonna pry back on these pistons in here to get them to retract. And I can feel them going. Okay. Now those are both retracted back in there. Well enough at least. Okay, we've got our OEM rotor and our new replacement rotor from FREMAX. One of the things you're going to want to do is spray these down with some brake parts cleaner and wipe off the machining oil on them. Alright, I'm a little dirty, and we're here on the GoPro now because my battery's died. I guess the hot sun has taken their toll. So now we're on what's quickly becoming my least favorite camera, my GoPro. I've got my rotor mounted, I've got my brake pads reinstalled, tightening up the anti-rattle clip right now. Okay, and then we're gonna get this thing mounted. Okay. All right, got one side done. We're going to move on to the driver front. I'll go ahead and skip all of that for you guys. I'll let you know if there's anything significant, like that brake wear sensor, and we'll move over to the back. So back here, it's gonna be more or less the same thing, but one thing we're gonna have to do is get into VCDS to release the rear e-brake cable, and then we can pull off this caliper. Hey, all right, we're back again with more dropped audio from the GoPro Hero. So I'm gonna do a little voiceover. Here we're looking at the VCDS settings under block 53, which is for the parking brake. We're gonna go to basic settings, and then we're gonna do start lining change mode. Now, of course, you want to make sure that the brakes are fully assembled before you start or end this lining change mode, so you don't overextend the piston calipers and damage stuff. So once you hit start, it'll go through its mode and it'll say running, and then once it's done, it'll say finish correctly or successfully, and then it'll say not running, so you know it's done doing what it needs to do. Man, these bolts back here are very tight. I had to get out the 1/2-inch breaker bar, an impact socket, and just try to wrench on it. So I got this one loose. Of course, we already released the calipers inside. Try to attack this bottom one now. Lord have mercy, these are tight, but I don't have any room to get in here. Now you'll see I'm having to manually pry back the piston, and that's because even though we released the parking brake through VCDS, it doesn't retract the calipers, so we're going to have to manually push those back. I gave us all new spring clamps and stuff to put in here, so that's cool. Okay, so these little guys, they actually pop into this area back here, these small little recess spots. You know, I'm thinking that this caliper mount, or this brake pad mount, might actually have to come completely off. That's kind of what it looks like. Okay. Wow. Yep, didn't have to do that at all. The whole caliper would have just lifted out. Well, now we know for the other side. All right, that's all cleaned up. Go ahead and throw in these new clamps here. Okay, good. And you know, we already sprayed off the machining oils because we care about our cars and we want to do it right. Speaking of caring about my car, I should probably just replace this screw, but the kit didn't come with any replacements, so unfortunate that we are reusing these things, but we are. Just a bit of an update. The driver's side did actually have one of these sensors, so we will be replacing it since the ATE brake kit came with one. And it's pretty simple. They just pop in here like that, and I actually do it once I put the pad inside of the caliper. So that's how that goes, and then it routes up, and there is a plug right behind the spindle. We're done. Now we're gonna get back in the car, close the rear caliper, take it on the road, and do our bedding in process, and we'll be done. And so just like before, we're gonna come down here to parking brake. We'll go to our basic settings, and we are going to end line changing mode and hit go. Okay, so normally, whenever you put in new pads like my Hawk DTCs or, you know, HPSs, whatever, you would go through a bedding in procedure. Now, ATE, who makes these pads I put on, do not recommend doing like a heavy braking bedding in procedure. All it says is to drive 400 to 500 miles normally and try to avoid heavy braking during that time. So we'll just drive around a little bit, see how everything feels, and call it a day. Now, if you were to be putting in some sort of performance brakes, generally it's recommended to do 6 to 10 cycles of like a 35 mile per hour run, and then medium pressure to stopping, and then followed by a few more runs at like 45 miles per hour with a little bit harder braking pressure, and then maybe one final one at 60, whatever. And then of course, don't set the e-brake after you do that. You don't want it to cook to the rotors. That's kind of the gist of how you do like a quick bedding in. I'm sure everybody in the comments is going to have their own way, so drop it down below, let me know how wrong I am. But for today, on these ATE ceramic pads, these are just an OE replacement. We are just going to drive normally for the first 400 to 500 miles, try to avoid heavy braking, and that's going to be it. So far I don't hear any weird noises. I don't have any brake sensor warnings. You know, we did have that one brake sensor that was on the front driver's side. I will say they feel just like normal. Nothing out of the ordinary. So I think we're good. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us here at Bruno Tuner. Hopefully you found this brake job DIY informative, and you feel like you can take it on yourself and avoid going to the dealership and getting those exorbitant charges to have a very basic job done that you can do in your own driveway with hand tools. As far as the difficulty goes, I would give this maybe a 2 out of 5. Basic hand tools and a VCDS cable will get you on your way very quickly. All the parts came from partsgeek.com. I will be linking the part numbers in the description for you to check out for yourself. Save some money, do it yourself, and we'll see you around on Bruno Tuner. Peace.